The argument here, isn't it, for stronger regulation is to deal with problem gambling there. I can't remember what it is. It's about 0.7% of the population. Nobody claims that it's anything like a majority. But nevertheless, for some people who pick up a habit or addiction, it can be incredibly destructive. And isn't that the justification the government's using for stricter measures, lowering limits? What's your analysis? And tell us, what are they actually proposing that you and Philip find so objectionable?
Firstly, am I coming through clear? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's better. The blizzard has disappeared. Yeah.
And Mike was working fine 1 minute before the show started. It was sod's law. What's been proposed? Well, the government itself isn't proposing anything. Government just says it wants to make this regulation fit for the digital age. Well, the last legislation was in 2005, which is, I would consider, the digital age. Not much has really changed actually since then. People were using the internet to gamble back then. The only real change has been the use of smartphones. I don't think that really is justification for completely new legislation. What's been proposed by the anti-gambling groups? Well, I think the most extreme policy is a kind of a cap, a monthly cap on how much you can deposit. And it's been suggested by one of the think tanks that £100 a month would suffice. And this is based on looking at the disposable income of the poorest people in the country. And you would be allowed to spend more than that, but you'd have to jump through a lot of hoops. You'd be effectively treated as if you were dealing in the proceeds of crime or taking out a mortgage. It'd be much more difficult to...
Are you serious? £100 a month?
I know, that would be nowhere near enough for you, Mark. I know, yeah.
I've often put £100 on a single match.
Well, quite, So I say these are extreme measures. Other stuff really involves making gambling less appealing, making online gambling less appealing, slowing down the games, for example, online, so they take the same amount of time as they would do in a casino. Well, in the casino, you've got to gather the chips and pay people out. They're slower for a reason. We don't make them deliberately tedious to put people off playing them, which is what is being discussed here. Similarly, lowering the stakes. So if you wanted to have a spin of roulette or a game of blackjack, you couldn't stake more than £2. This is directly copied from the war on fixed odds betting terminals. Of course, in casinos, you have to stake at least £5 or £10. So the anti-gambling people are kind of picking and choosing the least attractive bits of each of the kind of bricks and mortar sector and trying to apply them to online. And they're also wanting to ban advertising and sponsorship, which would be particularly devastating for snooker, which I have a particular fondness for, because nearly all the tournaments are sponsored by gambling companies. And there's no reason to think that a whole bunch of more wholesome companies are going to jump in and fill the void if gambling sponsorships banned. So none of this actually has any evidence that it will have any effect on problem gambling. They're all very blunt tools, and there's no reason either to think that will be the end of it, even if the government capitulates on that series of policy demands.